Hello and welcome, guys, to another episode in The Hague on a white bench, which I absolutely love. We're in a beautiful Paleistuin, Palace Garden, behind Noordeinde Palace here in The Hague. And actually always wanted to have an interview here on this bench. So I'm here joined by Sid. Sid is a beautiful storyteller in The Hague. He's creating very nice content and great movies and great stories about his observations and the people he meets in The Hague, which we're going to talk about in this episode. Safe to say, I just finished my interview for his channel, and now we continue on this one. Yeah, that's cool. That's a first. I'm happy we can exchange our point of views and perspectives through our own channels. That's really cool. Sid, thanks for having time and taking the time to sit next to me. I'm gonna give this mic to you to quickly introduce yourself and share with the people, what you do.
Perfect. Firstly, Robin, thank you so much for having me on the channel. And this is the first time you're having two interviews in a day. So that's a first experience.
True, that's true.
So a little bit about me. My name is Sudhanshu. A lot of people call me Sid, and I like that as well. I'm from this small city called India. I don't know if you guys would know about it. We don't like to talk about it a lot, but I'm from this country, India, from Mumbai. And I've lived about 23 years there in Mumbai, which is a beautiful city, multicultural, very different from whatever I've experienced in Europe. So the entire story of me ending up in Europe is pretty interesting. So COVID happened after my bachelor's of my university. COVID happened, and I was going to go to the United States. I got into some universities, but the issue was after COVID, they told me, hey, you can come here, but we cannot give you the scholarships.
Oh.
And I told them, I'm really sorry, you're very, very expensive. So I can't do anything. But luckily, a junior of mine told me about this beautiful university called Charles University. She went to in Prague, Czech Republic. And the masters I wanted to do, they had a program there as well. So I made a decision of just making a decision, like taking a risk in which I don't know a lot of things about Prague. I don't know a lot of things about Czech Republic.
You
but
Googled it?
Yeah, I Googled it. I saw and the funny thing is the first thing I ever saw about the Czech language is the way they say hi. And the way they say hi is called ahoy. And I just thought you don't have, I mean, like, you don't have a water body. Like, what is the ahoy point?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they have a river, but they're not connected to like coastal region. But so that was the decision of going to Czech Republic, and it was, I think, in my life the best decision I've ever made, in hindsight, because Europe is just, I mean, see, people in India, we see Europe in movies. Whatever we've seen in movies and TV shows, we have an understanding of how Europeans are only from movies. But after moving here, I've just come to love the lifestyle that people have here, in which I think people are laid back. They enjoy the little things. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate when people are just enjoying the little things. And that was the backstory of me coming to Prague. And funny enough, I got my first job at a Dutch company in Prague. And after working there and studying there, when I got a new role, they asked me, how would you like to come to The Hague? And I told them, sure, because Netherlands were always... No, the funny thing is I was actually going to study in the Netherlands as well. I got into Groningen University.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
but I didn't choose that as well. So I always wanted to live in the Netherlands, and I told them, why not? I would love to live in the Netherlands. So I moved to The Hague in July of 2023, last year, and it's been a roller coaster. I would use that word. There were ups and downs.
Ups and downs. I'm going to intervene here because otherwise it's going to take away for the next half an hour.
For sure.
But it's funny because there are a lot of things to process already, like things like ahoy. I see you land in Prague, and the first thing you say is like this anticipation about saying ahoy to somebody on the street.
It was really nice.
That's funny. It's funny. But it's crazy to see that then actually the Netherlands was somehow meant to be. You didn't choose it, but then you got drawn back into it.
I mean, I think that would be true. In which, as I told, I think the Netherlands is kind of a country in which people just look at it at the quality of life,
Mm.
and it makes it attractive. That is the reason I understand a lot of expats would be moving here, and I know a lot of Dutch people would be like, "Are you serious?"
Quality of life.
But yeah, as you said, I think it was meant to be, in which it was very random that just the country just pulled me in, and I thought, well, let's see what happens. And it's been 7 months, and as I told you, it's been a roller coaster, but I've been loving this country, and I've been loving the Dutch people and the Dutch culture.
What have been the downs?
Um,
Let's start with the negatives first.
yes. So, as I've told you in our interview as well, I think when you move to a new place as a student, it's easier to connect with people because you already have these social circles that are presented by your university.
Yeah.
And I'm like, on a natural point of view, I'm kind of an extroverted person. I'm social. I like talking to new people. So I thought if I move to a new place for work, it would be the same thing. I was wrong. Because when you move to a completely new place without having any circle, it's very, very difficult, especially if you're moving for work. Because then you're not a student, you have to find your own people, you have to create your own circle of friends. And I think for the first 2 months, that was the biggest downside for me, in which I struggled a lot. I was lonely, and I struggled a lot to meet people and make new friends. And the issue is, when you're meeting people, mostly you meet people that you do not connect with, vibe with, and that's why meeting people that you connect with is very difficult. So I think that was the biggest down I experienced.
It's funny. Sorry, we got a bit distracted by all this park action here. Grandpa rolling through the park
That's
here,
so cute.
trying to entertain his grandchild, who was just crying all the time. I was like, "Stop it! Stop it! We're recording a podcast." By the way, this is the thing about doing it in public, in the public
Yeah.
bench. You get it raw.
Yeah,
Everything you hear and
exactly.
people hear is how it's done.
Yep.
I'm not gonna filter it out. That's interesting. This whole where this whole lonely part comes in as well, huh? Because how was your life in Prague then? Because that's where you studied. Probably that's where you connected with people.
Definitely. Prague was, my life in Prague was, I think, the life that I have right now in The Hague, because I created a community myself.
Yeah, exactly.
It was something like that, in which I knew people,
Yeah.
and like people recognized me when I went out on the street. And it was, as you told me in the interview, in which you should know your neighbors, get to know your neighbors, and that experience you have in which you're walking and you see someone that you know, and that person stops you like, hey, how you been? We have not talked to each other in a long time, and then you just randomly have a conversation, and then you ask them, hey, do you want to get a beer? And then you just randomly make a plan.
Yeah.
And that was one thing about the life in Prague I really, really appreciated. And it was missing in my life in the Netherlands for the first 4 to 5 months. And that was, I think, I had a lot of difficulty understanding how to change that. But Prague, I tell people all the time, it's a different city. A lot of people think about Prague, about this touristy city, touristy point, and it is touristy in the center. But once you get to know the city, she's just beautiful. It's a very different city. There are other things, beautiful parks, beautiful public benches. So I'm pretty sure if you go there, I'm pretty sure you would have good conversations with people.
Let's go.
Prague, good place in the Prague. But
But listen, it took you some time to get that status in Prague as well, right?
Yeah.
Where you recognize people on the streets.
It-
Or was that also within 4 to 5 months?
it took me a little while, but The issue is when you go into a city for studies, you already have people.
Yeah.
You have already know people,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
true.
fine. So the transition is not that how do I say steep.
Yeah.
It's not abrupt. You already have people, so you kind of like increase. And the funny enough thing, the idea for the circle was started in Prague. So there's a circle in the Prague as well. So that's why I started getting into content creation there, and people kind of saw the value of it, and that's why a lot of people got to know me. But here in The Hague, I had no idea, because in the start I thought I would leave the circle behind in Prague, because it's a brilliant topic. It was a little bit different than the circle that I have in The Hague. It was mostly for students. So I thought, let's leave it behind. Let's see what the Netherlands entail. But I think I used the circle, the idea of the circle, which I really, really appreciate, as a tool of meeting new people. As, for example, take you, for example. I would never have met you
No.
if I wouldn't have started the Hague Circle. And I think it's beautiful in which you start something to meet people, and in the start it's slow, it doesn't get a lot of traction, but once it gets traction, people come to you, say like, hey, I like what you've created. And I'm pretty sure a lot of like you would have had that experience as well as in the good place.
Yeah. I think absolutely. It's a talking stone or talking vehicle
Yep.
to connect
Yep.
with. Absolutely. Like using the public bench
Yeah.
is a metaphor of let's sit here and have a chat together.
Yep.
You know, like an invitation. And now it's a lot easier to which I did with you, like, and it went a bit vice versa. Like, hey, let's have a conversation on a public bench.
Yep.
And for the watchers and listeners to this channel, not knowing your channel yet, it is called The Hague Circle. And of course, I didn't know your backstory, but now the word circle even more makes more sense of creating your own circle. In a city like The Hague, just to get to know people. Because you're a content creator, but you also have your day job, right? So it's funny how you've structured for yourself just to get to know people. And I think that's actually pretty cool, because not everyone, just most people probably just sit there and start to complain about the fact that they haven't made friends, and it already takes a lot of energy to go out there and meet new people. And you actually decided to create a channel or a platform where you actually meet people. How do you make sure then that people that you meet different kinds of people? Because they come to you, or you also seek for different kind of people?
So I think in terms of seeking different kind of people, for me, it's a lot of people ask me about how do you do it, in which how do you meet these people. I think for me, it's I want to meet people.
Yeah.
So the thing is, once you meet people, then you kind of understand what is their story, what kind of a person they are. And for me, it's I mostly reach out to people that I knew. In the start, I started interviewing people that I met through content creation.
Yeah.
So the Hague Circle, as Robin told, it's a platform in which I'm into cinematography, and I love this city. The city is a beautiful city, and I like to show the beautiful aspects of the city in a more, how do I call it, like cozy and like gezellig way, I would say. Yeah, that's the gezellig way in which
For somebody who's been only a
ja,
year,
ik ben 26 jaar oud. Ja, ik kom uit India, ik woon in Den Haag. So like a little bit I know.
Very good. Very good. You got the
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think this city is really beautiful, and the one thing I wanted people to feel, in which they see the city and they see people just having a normal day.
Yeah.
People just walking down Lanke Pfeifferberg and the Bautenhof, and they just enjoying their day.
Yeah.
I wanted to capture it, show it to people, and people loved it.
Yeah.
And after that, I started this idea of humans of The Hague.
Yeah.
Because the concept of humans of New York is really famous. There's humans of Amsterdam as well.
You know where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, why not do something because now in social media, video storytelling is a little bit more prominent, I must say, in terms of engagement. And I really love videography. I thought, why not we do this in a interviewing way?
Yeah.
So I started interviewing people that I already knew through the Hague Circle. And after that, people just started, because I told them, you don't need to be anyone. You don't need to be a creator. You just, if you want to have a conversation with me and you don't have an issue of me recording it, just tell me. Because honestly, I just need to meet, I want to meet people. Because as you said, you created the good place. Like everybody that you meet, you're not going to make like friends,
No.
but you get to know different perspectives of people.
Yeah.
And I wanted that as well, because The Hague is a new place. Like I've been here for 7 months.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know more about The Hague.
Yeah.
So I think that was the background. So like I want to meet different people, and yeah, I created a platform for it.
Yeah. Do you have an end goal for that?
No. For me, the end goal is because I'm planning to stay in the Netherlands for quite a while.
Okay.
I am.
You've already decided.
Yes, I've decided I want to stay in the Netherlands for quite a while because I've come to love the city. I've come to love this country. I know a lot of people have saying, and okay, this is an issue with the stereotype I have, because I'm a stand-up comedian as well, a newcoming stand-up comedian, and Dutch people are actually kind of like, they don't have an issue. Like you make fun of them, they were like, you're right actually.
What would you expect? They would like throw a brick at you?
No, that's the funny thing, because you see on social media, you see Dutch people like, oh no, you should not tell this. I meet Dutch people in person and we're like, you know what, you're right. You're right. And the funny thing is, you see the Dutch people asking the expats, because the expats complain about things, and I'll be like, you should not complain about this. And the funny thing is, I took a friend of mine who's Dutch. We went to a pub, and there was like a group of like old men just sitting at the table. They were complaining about the same things, but in Dutch. But yeah, that's what I realized about this country, is that you meet Dutch people, and I think I've been lucky, in which all the Dutch friends I've made, they've been like really welcoming to me.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Because of them, I fell in love with the city, I fell in love with this country, and I thought, you know what, the Hague Circle is just going to be there.
Yeah.
There are going to be new things, but it's just going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a landing pad. You know, it's nice to get to know people that actually, accept who you are, whatever your background is, and take you in their lives. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a quality really I really appreciate.
Yeah. Because you're of course, you don't have to ignore the fact that your background, you grew up in India, in Mumbai, and how would a circle work in Mumbai?
Wow, I was not expecting that question. That was a good question. Because this is
Would it work the same way?
No, it wouldn't. Because I'll tell you, this is a fun fact. The population of my city, my hometown, in Mumbai, is more than the population of this entire country. So I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have worked that way.
Neighborhood level.
Yes, I would have to start small, for sure. I would have to
In your
start.
street.
Yeah, it would be like just a street that I'm living in.
Street circles.
Yeah, street circles. But that would be a good idea of like streets of Mumbai.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good idea. But
Create communities within the streets. Yeah.
and the funny thing is, as I told you, it's already an Indian culture in which and this is more popular in rural areas than like metropolitan cities, in which you live in a neighborhood, and it's your duty of knowing your neighbors, of knowing the people that you're sharing your space with. You give them gifts during holidays. You visit their houses during religious activities, and then you just create a community. So that is one thing I really, really appreciate about my home country, about the rural areas, in which they have a very strong sense of community.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I got a little bit of inspiration of the Circle project in Prague, because the word itself, circle, it's kind of like interesting because you always hear people saying like, you should have a good circle of friends, you should keep your circle small, you should have this. So this entire like repetition of the word circle, 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 I thought, why not just create one?
Yeah, and there's sometimes there's not one circle.
Yeah,
You know, you have inner circle, and then
other people.
and then the circles around it.
Yep.
And of course, they create a bit of distance, but still it's a circle.
Exactly. So that's why I got obsessed with the idea of the circle. That's why I started in Prague, and it went really well for the university, because the idea there for the Prague Circle, it's named differently. It's essentially I wanted to create a bridge between international students and Czech students. There were not a lot of student organizations doing that, so I started the circle there, and it's going good right now as well. It's still going on. I've handed over to really talented people, and I really like it in which you look back at the things that you created and you see it's still helping people, and that's the best thing. So if I'm having like like I'm going through a bad patch, I just look back at the things that I helped create or I created, and they're still helping people. So for me, as I told you, it's very relatable to the things that you told me about your projects, that you want to create projects that give value to people. It's the same thing for me.
Yeah, because it also helped you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's this channel also helps me to learn more about what a good place is. Same as it hopefully does it help others to also think about what a good place is for them. That they might appreciate where they live, so they suddenly realize, hey, I'm in a good place. You know, there's nothing missing. I actually have everything that I want in life.
Yeah, that would be a good realization after I saw some episodes from your channel as well. And I thought, you know what, it's actually good when you appreciate, you kind of identify the places that you're in and you see the good things that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there are bad things as well. But when you appreciate the good things that you have, you just kind of feel like, okay, I'm in a good place in life, physically as well, and you start appreciating the place that you're in more.
Yeah. And then also the privileges that certain places have. You know, we talked about that we take for granted, whereas others even don't have.
Yep.
And then of course there are extremes. But you take all these factors and you map them out, and then you draw your conclusion in some ways. Yeah. So like, what's in The Hague that Prague doesn't have, or the other way around? Besides the job, I mean.
Oh God, you're gonna. Because okay, I'll tell people this all the time because I really appreciate The Hague. It's amazing, but as I told you, Prague for me, I think, as you told about Amsterdam, when anybody asks you about what do you think about in Amsterdam, you just think they're memories, some memories that are going to be with you for your whole life. For me, Prague is something like that because it was my stepping stone to Europe. I would say it was my first ever experience of Europe, and I'll tell you this funny story. This is the story of my first ever hour or like first day in Europe. In the buses here in Europe, you guys have the buttons. We don't have that in India. We don't have that
They always
concept.
stop.
We don't have any concept like that. So when I took because I changed my life, I was moving there, so I took so much luggage. I was going to my hostel, my dormitory from the airport. I found the bus. I was thinking, okay, it's fine, it's good. Found the bus. I was waiting for the stop. The stop was the next stop. I'm like, okay, the bus is going to stop, and I'm going to get out. I'm going to start my new life. It didn't stop. The next stop, it didn't stop. And the person who was driving the bus, he did not understand what I was telling him. And it stopped like 3-4 stops because they have compulsory stops. So it stopped there, and I had to walk back all the way to dormitory.
With your luck.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my first experience of Europe, but kind of liked it. It's a story now. I kind of liked it, but
Beautiful.
yeah. But the one thing about The Hague, the Prague doesn't have. This is a very difficult question, but I would say just my personal opinion because it'll be different.
It's always about
Yeah, for me, The Hague has something for everyone. I see people, and I think this is the reason I guess Prague is a little bit similar as well to The Hague, in which you have like beautiful gardens like this. You go on a Sunday and you see the entire family. You see grandparents talking to other grandparents on one side, people drinking beers and having a good time, children playing with their pets. They're having a good time in which you just see it, and you don't even have to be a part of it. You just see it and you just feel warm. You feel like, okay, this is a city that kind of appreciates everyone, I would say. But yeah, The Hague has the beach, of course. And the funny thing is, I came in July of last year, and I don't know why, but last year the summer got over a little bit early. So July, I hope it, I hope it won't happen this year. So this is the first time I'm gonna experience Hague, a Hagenaar. I still don't know the difference between the Hagenaar and Hagenaes.
Okay. You want an explanation?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So even for people that are not from The Hague, there are two expansions of describing the citizens of The Hague. So there's the Hagenaar, and the Hagenees. They call a Hagenees the one that actually has been born and raised there.
Okay.
And well, let's put it that way. There is a distinction between people living on sand and people living on turf.
Okay.
So there's a street, the Laan van Meerdervoort.
Oh,
It's
the biggest one.
it's almost the longest street in The Hague.
Yeah.
On top of that is sand towards the beach.
Okay.
And turf is the other side,
Okay.
below the Laan van Meerdervoort.
Okay.
And they said that the richer people lived above the Laan van Meerdervoort
Okay.
because it was more expensive
So on the sand.
on the sand,
Okay.
called the Hagenaar.
Okay.
The Hagenees on the other side,
Oh, okay.
a bit, more the less richer
Okay.
part of The Hague.
So that's like the dividing line.
The dividing line, yeah.
Ah.
But the other explanation of the difference between Hagen and Hagenees is that how I started this explanation is where actually people are born and raised
Okay.
in Den Haag, call themselves a Hagenees,
Yeah.
like the proper rooted.
Okay.
Whereas the one that didn't, was like the opposite, like that came in, live here,
Yeah.
at one point started to be the Hagenaar,
Okay.
making a distinction.
Ah. Okay.
I do believe the first story is a bit
Okay.
more, the more romantic kind of story. But especially people moving to The Hague and living for a while, they probably call themselves Hagenaar, and
Hagenaar,
definitely
okay.
not Hagenees.
Okay.
Because Hagenees, you really have to be born and raised here.
Okay.
So don't call yourself Hagenees.
Okay. Okay. I would keep that in mind. But yeah,
You don't get arrested.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
worries.
As you stated, like there's so many things about the city I still have to learn. And I mean, you have like lots of things. Like, okay, we are like recording in front of the palace itself, the royal palace, and I really don't know a lot of things because back in India we don't have like a royal family or something, and I see a lot of traditions here in which, because this was my first Dutch Easter. I had the experience of being invited to a Dutch family, and I experienced a Dutch Easter, and I thought, okay, this is a very new tradition in which, and this is a funny thing I'll tell you, okay, because
You're going to have King's Day as well. the first
yeah,
time.
so the first time I'm gonna have a lot of things. A lot of people, they see Indian festivals because we have a lot of festivals.
Yeah, the Colour
And
Festival.
yeah, we have a lot of festivals, and they see, okay, you guys do like very interesting things. And I just saw, okay, but you guys hide eggs in your gardens and you ask your kids, hey, go find them, which is pretty interesting to me if you come from the East. So yeah, it was learning about Dutch culture. I think it's been interesting. I would say the word.
That's like a political correct answer. Interesting. for somebody who, I think you're quite opinionated or
Yeah.
a show caller, you say interesting.
Yeah.
Fine. You can also say you don't like it. So that's
I mean,
okay.
I mean,
Oh, you're afraid not being
I'm
invited
still,
again.
I'm still on the how do you call it, the balls in the court.
Yeah.
Like I'm still on the edge of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But like learning about it, it's been a good experience.
Yeah.
Like because at the end, as you said, like I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
I want to stay here.
Yeah.
So of course, like there would be things about the place you want to stay in, the good things, and of course there are gonna be the things that you don't like.
I mean,
But
you don't have to celebrate Easter, really. That's the thing. Same thing.
I like the food people they make during the Easter. I love that.
Yeah,
But
But
yeah,
it's the same, you know, same like celebrating Christmas or Easter. It's all, a religious tradition, whereas the majority of people in the Netherlands are not even that religious, as the biblical sense, the Christian sense. Of course, there are a lot of people religious, different religions, but so we all like caught up in this celebrating these. It's an excuse just to have a day off, and have
I
good
get it.
food.
Yeah.
So that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah, now you guys understand why India has so many holidays. We just want to have fun.
We need to have days off
Yeah,
and
exactly.
fun. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, it's a good reason to come together, and have a good time. But yeah, you could skip Easter for me, you know. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it.
I had a good weekend, so I thought like, okay, next weekend, the next time I'll do something. I'll do something in which I'll invite people to my place, maybe,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we'll celebrate it. Because at the end, what is festivals or like holidays are just like you meet people or you come together with the people that you love. You share a good experience. For me, that is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think and that's what you have to how you have to embrace these
Yeah.
kind of days and traditions and so on. Absolutely. Same like King's Day is a good reason to go out and party together, meet new people. There are a lot of days off in these kind of months we're in. March, April, May. There's Bevrijdingsdag, which is Day of Liberation, which is linked to World War II back a century ago. Yeah, and it's now turned into the whole conscious thing about how important freedom is, which is not a given in this world nowadays. So, yeah, crazy, but it's good that it happens, and I hope people will be more conscious about it and around it. Okay, enough about traditions and these kind of days. Did I have anything else? Well, I was also very curious about. I'm always curious about these things that, especially when you're from India, which I think is also very collective in some ways. Do you seek for fellow Indian people here in Europe, or is it something not so worried about, or you're open to all kinds of connections? Looking of where you're from.
No, I think so. That's a
Do
good.
you go to color festivals here, or you don't care?
No, because the thing is, like, honestly, I didn't like that back in India as well. Because, like,
Tasted.
okay, it's a good tradition, but I thought like for some people they just don't like it. They like other things. Like I like Diwali, the Festival of Lights, and I do go out and celebrate. Like in Prague as well, I did that. But the good thing about being in India is you don't have to look for Indians. They'll just come and find you. That's a good thing. That's a good thing because like we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just come.
The biggest population in the world.
Yeah. We're everywhere, and the good thing about Indians out like in Europe or in America is that you just meet people, and it's like that's it. Like you just connect. You talk about the things that you grew up with, which are the same. And I think this is not even an Indian thing. I think if you meet someone from your country, somewhere else, and you just connect with them, you share your common experiences and everything. But for me,
But is it different than meeting, I don't know, somebody from Germany or whatever? Or is there some sort of feels so familiar? Is there a difference in energy?
I don't think so. I mean, it all differs because you would know, India is it's a pretty big country.
It's so
And
different. There are a lot of differences.
yeah, exactly. If you see the cities, the states itself, you kind of I always like joke and I say like India is like a continent, and the states are like countries because you have so many different things, and of course like some energies are going to be something that you like, and some energies are not going to be something that you are comfortable with. But for me, it's not even more like I want to have like an Indian. Like a circle or like circle of friends because I already know people from my work and from my personal life who are Indians. The good thing is if you have issues or if you need help, you can always contact them. That's I think the one thing I really like about Indians.
Support circle.
Yeah, you always you don't even have to ask, you just like text them on WhatsApp or something even if you don't talk to each other. I'm like, hey, I need help in this, can you help me? And they'll just be like, okay, yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I would do that.
Nice.
So that's one thing that is unique to Indians. I would like
can
that. I would
imagine.
like to say that.
You see, for everything a circle, huh?
That's
There's
what
a-
I'm saying. I use the word a lot, and the word itself is used a lot. And
Yeah.
that was my inspiration.
Yeah. But then also when I ask you about your Indian relatives or Indian connections, they also have some sort of function as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, because at the end, it's community, and the funny thing is, if you take social media, and this point you made during our earlier interview as well, in which you have like certain kind of contents about city. Okay, if your kind of content is regarding city, you have like the hotspots, the recommendations.
Yeah.
But at the end, the one kind of content I actually like is community.
Yeah.
Because at the end, when you start understanding the importance of it, once you start living on your own, once you start understanding the importance of community, you kind of start thinking that, okay, building a community is of the most importance for a human being, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I really appreciate like the Indian community, in which they're just like helpful. They're very, very welcoming. They'll always be up for helping other people, and especially Indians outside India. If you have an issue, always ask them. They'll always be there. So that's one thing I really appreciate.
Yeah. That's why you also connect with your neighbors in some ways because you always can rely on
Exactly.
them when something happens. Yeah. Yeah, and there's also I think that's also a realization. There's not just one community. I think we all have multiple communities we take value from. You know, you're part of a creative community here in The Hague, which you've created yourself. I'm also part of a, like photography community, which is all about photography in The Hague. And I think we seek for all these different. There is not one community where you find all. Perhaps maybe there's different communities where you find different things.
I've never actually thought of it that way. It's an interesting thought in which you have these groups of communities, and because I think it depends on people itself. Because the people nowadays, it can be since the like invention of anything in which people are just different. You have different interests. You have different kind of identities in a certain person, and for them, they need different communities. For creatives, for other people, for food, whatever, and in which, like, I think so. A person, like a human being, for me, how do I say this? A successful human being, I would say, I will use that word, is in the center that overlaps a lot of communities.
Yeah.
You don't have like one community, you have like different communities, and you have people that you share interest with, and that dynamic is how you
Complete yourself.
yeah what is a good place. I think that would be my answer of a good place, that a good place is something that you create in which you're there, and there's a lot of communities overlapping with you. I think so that would be your good place.
All these factors that make it a good place are connected to some sort of community.
Exactly.
Interesting, huh? Nice. Sid, it's very unfortunate but true. We're heading towards the end of the episode. Um,
I actually want to see like how long is it, because the good thing about having a good conversation is that you actually like forget the flow of time.
I don't know. My gut feeling always brings me to around 30 to 40 minutes. And that's all based upon gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't timed it. And I don't time it because it distracts me when
Yeah,
having
that's true.
conversations with people.
That's true.
Every episode is ended by my fellow benchie,
Mhm.
my fellow bench sitter. Um, so I'll let you think for a couple seconds to think of something you would like to share with the listener and viewer as a final note of our conversation that you'd like to give to them. I mean, of course, you can follow my channel and make that work, but it can also be something more in depth. Is that okay?
Yeah, for
Okay, cool. For everyone watching and listening, it's been an honor to sit here for you and share these interesting insights about circles, friend circles, community circles, and I think we're gonna, after this conversation, we're gonna continue it. I think because I wanna brainstorm around it a bit more. Um, yeah, because I'm also still searching for community here in The Hague. I found one. I'm happy to be part of the circle. Thanks for being on this bench.
Yes.
For everyone watching, please subscribe and like to Spotify. A rating would be amazing. Subscribe button on YouTube would be very grateful for it. And I'll finish it off with Sid. So Mike, Sid, here's the mic once again. Take it away.
Okay. As an ending note for myself, I would like to really thank you, Robin, for inviting me, because this is a beautiful, beautiful concept that you've started. And the funny thing is, I did not know about it. I wish I would have known about it. And I did not know about it. I checked it. I went through so many of your episodes, and I fell in love with the concept of it. So, honestly, thank you so much. And as an ending note, of course, if you guys haven't heard of the Hague Circle, you can just like search Hague Circle. And
Drop link below.
drop link below. You just search the Hague Circle, and I hope you guys like my content. I just like to show the beautiful city of the Hague. I like to showcase it in my style. But as an ending note, something that is very close to my heart, I would like to say, in which if you're moving to a new place and you're trying to find a community, I understand it's very difficult to put yourself out there, because it shows a great deal of vulnerability for a person to put herself or himself out there to find new people. But what I've experienced is, if you take that step, you take a leap of faith, you be vulnerable, you say to people that, hey, this is the first time I'm leaving, and this is the first time I want to find someone, I want to find a circle, I would say, it always works out amazing. So I think the one thing I would like to say is just put yourself out there. If you're going to a new place, if you want to find new people, the sad thing is, people are not gonna come to you. I understand that happens to some people, but from my experience, people that you want to connect with, they're not gonna come to you. You have to make the first step. So yeah, that would be my ending note. Just make the first step, and you'll have beautiful friends.
Amazing, beautiful. Thanks, Sid. Guys, have a nice day and talk to you soon. Later.